Hey people, DLF here. Something I gotta talk about. It's a purple elephant in the room. Nobody's talking about it. I tried to talk about it with somebody today. Called me fucking crazy. Said my view was stupid and it's wrong and all that. But I don't give a shit. Something we gotta talk about. Nobody's talking about it. And it's a little different view. But it's my view and I'm sharing it, and that's all that matters. Not even the guy at ReviewtechUSA is talking about this. I hope he sees this video, and I hope he gives his opinion. So what am I talking about here? So there's this trend that I'm noticing. No one else is talking about it, but I'm noticing it. I don't know if I'm noticing it because I have Asperger's or whatever, but I'm definitely noticing it. People are calling me crazy for it, but hear me out. Okay, so it seems like to me in the video game world that these days with I noticed this starting like the late PS3 and Xbox One, or not Xbox, PS3 and Xbox 360 generation. I noticed this started happening, and what that is the late PS3, not like early days PS3, the late, oh, excuse me. So, this is what I've been noticing about last gen and going into current gen consoles today, is that games that are like a series, like Final Fantasy, like anything that you know is a huge series that has a lot of games in it. What I'm noticing about late last gen and current gen consoles is that it seems like now games today are only getting like one game per console generation. For example, and there are a couple of exceptions to this trend, like Call of Duty. There's gotta be a bunch of Call of Duty games. There's be like one a year. Sports games again is another exception, and I'm thinking that maybe even like Switch games may be like the big exception, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. But it seems like last gen and into this generation consoles, like the PS4 and the Xbone and all that, you're only gonna get one. You're gonna get one generation exclusive game for a series now. That's kind of the trend that I'm seeing now. Like, for example, you will not get another Final Fantasy game. You will not see another Final Fantasy game for PS4 or Xbone, because we already got Final Fantasy 15. Now, a friend of mine that called me crazy for thinking about this tried to bring up, oh well, look at The Last of Us. What about it? Well, we got The Last of Us on PS4, and we're getting The Last of Us 2 on PS4. And I'm like, no. The Last of Us was a PS3 game, but there was a Last of Us for PlayStation. No, that was a remaster. Remasters don't count. Excuse me a second. Alright, sorry about that. Yeah, so the reason The Last of Us doesn't count is because The Last of Us was released on the PS3, okay, and on the on PS4 they got The Last of Us as well, but it was a remake. It was just a remaster of the first game. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. So we are going to see The Last of Us 2 on the PS4, but don't expect The Last of Us 3 on the PS4. That's going to wait until next gen consoles. Okay. Final Fantasy. We already got Final Fantasy 15 on the PS4 and Xbone. So don't expect another Final Fantasy game. Yeah, I know we got Final Fantasy 10 and Final Fantasy what was it? Final Fantasy 10, Final Fantasy 12, and Final Fantasy, what was that one? Type 0. But all those were just remasters of older games that they re-released to the PS4. Those don't count. Okay? You think we're going to see another Horizon Zero Dawn game on the PS4? I don't think so. We might see another one on the next gen systems. Now, I think the reason that they're doing this is because it's a lot easier and cheaper for developers to just, because think about it, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, let's face it, those were the systems. Those were the systems that really made DLC and all that. They actually did. Those were the ones. I know they're not the first consoles to do it, but that's the generation that brought on the craze of DLC and expansions for consoles. And when you think about it, you look back on like the first PlayStation. Let's see, you got Final Fantasy 7, you got Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 9. Those are all main games in the series. You got 3 games that were released on that system. Okay? Now, today, you would probably only get like 1 Final Fantasy game per console generation. And because you know why? You know why? Because it's cheaper just to create more DLC for that 1 Final Fantasy game than it is to release a whole different Final Fantasy game. You're not gonna see a Final Fantasy 16 on a PS4 or Xbone. You're going to see that on the next gen system. Okay? Now, here's the thing though. It's you can only expand the game so much. That's the problem. And once you expand, you can only expand it so much, and then, you know, it's not really worth it. You know, technology gets better. You know, you get better graphics on some of these consoles now, and you can only expand a game so much before you have to just scrap it and just go with something new. You know what I'm saying? And that's when they'll start bringing out a sequel. So, you know, you can go from... What's going to happen is they're gonna release Final Fantasy 15. They released it, and now they're going to do all kinds of DLC for it. And they're going to try to keep that going into when they bring out like the next gen consoles. Then you're gonna see that. Okay, you know, people want bigger, people want better, and you know, a last gen, you know, graphics on current gen isn't gonna cut it. So yeah, maybe we're gonna have to think of something new to show off the new console's power. So they'll release Final Fantasy 16 next gen, just release that with a bunch of fucking DLC, and you'll have to wait for the generation after that to get a new Final Fantasy game. Okay? And yeah, what I'm saying is I'm talking about main releases for series, like for example Final Fantasy. Okay, they could very well bring out, you know, a next gen or a current gen Final Fantasy Tactics game. That could happen. But it's not part of the main series, so it's not part of the main series, so that's an exception. Okay, but if they're gonna release a whole line of series for Final Fantasy Tactics, and they start with this gen, don't expect another one this generation. Expect there to be DLC. And then expect a new one next generation, because, you know, improvements in hardware. You know, you have to bring out better games. You know, you have to bring out games that, you know, support the newer controllers. You know, the whole bit. Now, my friend also said, "Well, look at what happened with PC gaming. Expansions have been out since the 90s. You know, look at StarCraft. They had Brood War. Okay, but that's PC. That's PC. And you know what? This trend still follows. How many actual StarCraft games are there? There's only 2 StarCraft games that have been out. Let's see, 98. When was the first StarCraft game out? Like 98 or something, right? It is now... It's almost been 20 years since the first StarCraft game has been released on PC. Okay? It's been almost 10 years, or 20 years. And they only brought out 2 StarCraft games. Now, that's what I'm talking about here. That's what I'm talking about. they don't bring out the sequels. Okay? You could have had like 5 StarCraft games out, but no, they only have 2 out. How many Diablo games have there been out? Only 3. You know what I'm saying here? And don't give me that, well, you know, StarCraft, and how many Warcraft games? I'm not talking about World of Warcraft, which in and itself is its own fucking series, but Warcraft. Only 3 games out, Warcraft games. You know, you could have made a World of Warcraft 2, but instead you have World of Warcraft, and then you have all these other expansions. You see what I'm saying here? And the graphics are just as shitty as, you know, 15 years ago. You know, an expansion isn't gonna improve much. An expansion is just gonna maybe put like some extra areas in a game, or some extra levels, or maybe some characters or something. An expansion isn't going to, you know, improve the whole graphics situation. It's not going to make the graphics any more better. It might make it a little better, but it's not going to be it's not going to be a big difference. In order to redo the graphics, they would have to release maybe not a whole game, but maybe like a huge fucking patch. And with that, you would have to upgrade. You probably have to upgrade your computer hardware and all that. But no, all the expansions do is just add extra shit to the game. It doesn't add, like you turn on, for example, you turn on World of Warcraft today, and the graphics look like shit. Because it's an old fucking game with like PS2 graphics, and it looks like that today. It's not going to change, but you know you got this huge world. You got like what, like 7 expansions for it? Well, StarCraft, they have all kinds of, well, good for them. But StarCraft, you see what they're doing with StarCraft 2. I have the first StarCraft 2 game, where it's only the humans that you get to play as. They split up all the campaigns between each of the expansions. So you have the Terran expansion, or not the Terran, that's the humans. You got the Protoss expansion and the Zerg expansion. And in the first StarCraft, that was all on one disc. That was all in the one game. But now they're splitting it up. You could have had, here's what they should have done. All those campaigns in one game, and then, you know, maybe an expansion for a different story or whatever. Then they should have moved on to like StarCraft 3. But no, it takes them 20 years to make 2 StarCraft games. I'm not counting each expansion as a sequel or each expansion as a separate game. No. Because that's what they do. That's what they're doing now. It's all about DLC. It's all about milking a game in a series to get as much money out of you as possible. And this seems to be happening. This seems to be happening more and more and more. Like, let's see here. You could take any fucking game that was big back in the back in the day, like let's take Mega Man for example. Nah, that wouldn't work because they don't really make Mega Man anymore. So there's a couple games, there's a couple series that are the exception. Those are your Call of Duties. For whatever reason, Call of Duty is the exception because no matter what, they'll make those one a year. Call of Duty's exception. Any sports game, which I don't even know why anymore. Wouldn't it just be easier to release like, you know, NFL something or Madden or whatever, and to just have the updated rosters as like a patch or a DLC or something? Wouldn't that make more sense? I don't know. I don't play sports games and I don't play Call of Duty either. But what I'm saying is those are games that get made every single friggin' year, and they, you know, when I go dumpster diving, that's what I find a lot of in the dumpster. I find a lot of Call of Duty shit and Madden, or any sports game, because they get obsolete that quick. Now, those games are the exception. The other thing that might be an exception to this may be Switch games. The only reason is because Switch has a very, very small storage space on it. It's like what, 32 gig or something like that for a Switch? That's ridiculously small. My PS4 is like what, 500 gig. And so you can't really hold that much DLC on 32 gig. It's not going to happen. So, and that might actually be the downfall of, that might actually, in the long run, I think that's actually going to hurt the Switch. Because they can't do that shit where they, like, it forces Nintendo to have to keep, you know, bringing out more games to update them. Because, like, let's say you want, you know, Nintendo can bring out a Switch and it can have like a terabyte of storage in it, let's say. And they bring out Metroid Prime 4. And with Metroid Prime 4, they could have it so that you can sit there and have all kinds of DLC for the game. Okay? There could be all kinds of DLC for Metroid Prime 4. Okay? And what Nintendo would do the same thing the other companies are doing. Milk Metroid Prime 4 for everything it's got. Okay? But because the Switch has such a tiny space on it, it forces Nintendo to have to, if they want to bring back, if they want to make another Metroid game, Metroid Prime game, Metroid Prime 5, they would have to release a Metroid Prime 5. You see what I'm saying? They can't have all kinds of DLC with their games. So it forces them to make newer games. I don't know if I'm making any kind of sense here, because I wasn't clear to my friend about what I was trying to say, but it just seems like to me, like, for example, you're not going to see a Bloodborne 2 on PS4. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to see a Dark Souls 4 on a PS4. You might see a Bloodborne 2 on the PS5, but you're not going to see a Bloodborne 2 on PS4. Because there's no reason for them to make it on PS4. Since they could keep making DLC for Bloodborne, first one, and then once the next gen consoles come out with better hardware, then they can work on a Bloodborne 2 utilizing that better hardware. See what I'm saying here? It's like, think about it this way. Think of it this way. I'll bring up Mega Man again. And I know it's kind of an old game, but look at it from this perspective, okay? You have on the NES. You have 6 Mega Man games on the NES. 6 Mega Man games. The Super Nintendo came out. They had, what was it? They had a Mega Man game, and then they had, like, I think maybe 2 or 3 Mega Man X games. Okay? Now, they weren't released. They weren't released because you could see that the new Mega Man games for Super Nintendo look a little bit better than. They have updated graphics, I should say. So, in order to have a game with updated graphics, you're going to need better hardware for it. That's what I'm saying. But in the day and age of the internet and all that bullshit, people are willing to buy a game, pay for DLC, because that's how they can keep the game going now, instead of, I'm just going to buy, I don't know, Final Fantasy 15 for PS4, and I'm like, I can't wait till Final Fantasy 16, oh, wait, it's not coming out for PS4. Why is that? Because they could just milk fucking Final Fantasy 15 for all they got. And no, there wasn't 4 Warcraft games. There was 3, because I'm talking about the 3 that were real-time strategy games, not the online RPG World of Warcraft. That is like its own separate thing, okay? They need to make a new fucking Warcraft game. Like a new real-time strategy Warcraft game. You know, it's like, you saw like a game like Splatoon on the Wii U, okay? Why didn't they make a Splatoon 2 for the Wii U? Because it's coming out for the Switch, that's why. That's why. So, I don't know, I to be honest, this is just my take on this whole thing. Like, I'm not exactly sure if I'm right or not. We might see a fucking Final Fantasy 16 on PS4 and Xbox. We might, but I highly doubt it. It's just the way I'm seeing things here. Take it as it is. I don't consider myself an expert in the industry. I just play the games. But, hey, if you have a different opinion of what I'm saying here, then please feel free. Feel free to comment below. And I want to see if I can get Rich from ReviewtechUSA to see this video and him make a comment about it, or have him do a video on this, because he uploads like 5 videos a day. Maybe this could be one of his videos. But I think this is a purple elephant in the room that's not getting talked about. You're only going to get one generation exclusive game in a series per console generation. That's my take on it. Take it as it is. I'm out. I'm Dragon Lord Frodo. Comment, like, and subscribe below. And you have a good day. And that's my opinion.